Good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Fanestil, and on behalf of the Friends of Friendship Park, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us. Thanks for taking an interest in our project, Build That Park. I'm going to ask my friends Dan and Jim to introduce themselves, but as they do, I want you to be aware that we're just here representing a larger group, a core group of people, individuals and organizations who have been advocating for public access to the historic location on the U.S. Mexico border known as Friendship Park. And these are some of our core members, and you can find more about our work, the ongoing advocacy work of our coalition at friendshippark.org. So I'm John Fanestil. I'm a pastor in the United Methodist Church and have been meeting at Friendship Park for many years for a project called Border Church. And I've also been a collaborator in this coalition, the Friends of Friendship Park. Dan and Jim, would you introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Dan Watman, and I have also been part of the Friends of Friendship Park for a number of years, and I'm the coordinator founder of the Binational Friendship Garden of Native Plants.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks, John. My name is Jim Brown. I've been a member of the Friends of Friendship Park since, I guess 2009. And I'm an architect. My architectural company is called Public Architecture. I'm also an educator. I teach design at San Diego State University. Thank you so much for participating in today's discussion.
Thanks. And what we'll be doing is today hearing mostly from Jim, who will be sharing a design process, a design campaign that we've just launched called Build That Park. And then Dan will be sharing some ideas about the future of the binational garden as an example of the kind of design challenge and the kind of design opportunity that we anticipate tackling here in the coming year. This is a year-long campaign we've just launched in August and will culminate next August 18th, 2021, when we'll share the vision that's emerged from this design campaign. And that happens to be the 50th anniversary of Friendship Park. To get us started, I just want to help us get situated. And I thought we might just do that with Google Earth. I'm sure many of you on this webinar have been to Friendship Park, but if you haven't, I just want to help you locate it. It's right on the border, at the westernmost edge of the U.S. Mexico border, where San Diego and Tijuana meet. It's also the location where the border wall dives into the Pacific Ocean. And so if you've ever seen images of that, you're looking down on that wall from up above at what historically people have called Friendship Park. It was intended and in fact designed to be a binational park, but of course, across the years, the US federal government has built many barriers, multiple walls at this location, which have really defeated the purpose of the park, the original intent of the park, which was to be a binational place honoring the peace and friendship between the peoples of the two nations of the United States and Mexico. As you can see on the northern side of the current border wall is the undeveloped land of the Tijuana Estuary and Borderfield State Park, while to the south is the busy Tijuana neighborhood of Playas de Tijuana. And the Friendship Park is perhaps known presently, most widely known, because it's one of the only locations where friends and family can meet up through the border wall on Saturdays and Sundays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The Border Patrol allows limited access to the location you're looking at now. But it has a much greater history than that and a much more significant history and important history than that, which I think is easiest to see by looking at it from the street view. And at the street view, you can, if you were walking along on the Mexican side, you would be able to see this monument up against the wall, not the little stone monument in the foreground, but that white pyramid in the center of your screen. That's the initial boundary marker between the United States and Mexico. It was first put in place, a boundary marker at this location, in the early 1850s at the end of the U.S.-Mexico War. And then the monument was replaced in the 1890s, and that's the monument that still sits there today. Because it was the very first marker placed on the U.S.-Mexico border, some people call Friendship Park the birthplace of the border. And that marker was intended to memorialize the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which was called, in the terms of the treaty itself, a treaty of peace and friendship between the United States and Mexico. So we're at this location, looking at a binational park that has never quite, in the recent years, never quite fulfilled its promise. And it's to fulfill that promise that we've launched this campaign that we're calling Build That Park. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim Brown now and ask him to share with you the vision that we're developing for this campaign. Jim?
Thank you, John. Thank you very much. And thank you guys for attending. It looks like the crowd is getting pretty sizable. I really appreciate you taking your time on this Saturday to join us. It means a lot to us. I think you guys will be the first group, and hopefully the people that you know, your contacts, your friends, your cohort, to a large extent, will help us spread the word of what we're going to be undertaking over the next 12 months. We believe strongly that the best security that we can have between our neighbors, both to the south and to the north, is cooperation and friendship. A wall, no matter how tall they build it or how many walls there are, can't take the place of basic friendship, cooperation, belief in one another, and common shared goals. We're seeking to build a symbol of that in a international friendship park, which is a true binational space on the border between San Diego and Tijuana. In this, of course, you know where we are here in California, Mexico. Here's an aerial view, and just to give you an idea of the size of the potential size of this project. Here's the border fence here as it crashes into the ocean. On the U.S. side, there's a beautiful estuary, and we want to be very sensitive to that existing estuary. But there's an area of it here on a mesa that has been altered and graded to a certain extent. There's already a sizable parking lot, there's camping facilities, or I should say picnicking facilities. They actually plan on doing some camping. And just this area of land alone here on the US side is approximately 20 acres of land. It's a large piece of land. So on the US, we have potentially a 40-acre parcel here that we can contribute to this binational cause, if I may say that. This kind of exclamation point of cooperation and friendship. On the Tijuana side, we would use the exact same amount of land, potentially another 40 acres of land that encompasses many buildings. There's people living here in La Playa. There's all sorts of apartments, there's vibrant restaurants, there's offices, there's the old bull ring. It's not used as a bull ring any longer, but it's a stunningly gorgeous structure. All of these buildings would be inside of the potential binational park. In some sense, and they would not be, we would not propose at all to tear these down and to create some like grassy, tree-filled park. No, this park would contain people working, people living, people having a really exciting time. In some sense, it's like a binational city. It has some of that feeling. Now, the condition now is very important. I mean, it's a dreadful condition, but it's a very important condition. This is, as John mentioned, this is a way for families to meet. And families come from all over the United States and Canada and all over, not just Mexico, but Latin America, to come to this exact spot at Friendship Park and see their relatives. Because even though we have these great tools like Zoom, yeah, phone calls, you can make all the phone calls you want. At those important times in your life, like a new grandchild, or perhaps your elderly parents are nearing the end of their lives, or you want to see your brother or your sister again, or your wife, your kids, you need to go there in person. So people will travel thousands of miles to come to this place. And our vision is to make an inclusive, warm environment where people can actually embrace and touch, unlike the current condition where They have to stand apart. So we'll be spending the next 12 months investigating the possibilities for this International Friendship Park. And we won't be doing it on our own. We'll be asking our elders, we'll be seeking input from stakeholders, citizens, students, practicing professional designers from all over the world, and we'll tackle different pieces of this park. And at the end of 12 months, we will put together a visionary plan formed by a large group of people that represents a lot of different stimulating ideas, concepts. And if we're lucky, and if we're good, it will spur our politicians, both local, state, and federal, to create a symbol of cooperation, friendship, and trust on the border by creating an International Friendship Park. And as well as that, create another border crossing, only pedestrian, not cars. The site is too delicate for more cars. We don't need that here. But we could create a pedestrian-only crossing as well as a binational park. And getting there from Tijuana, while the city is right there, there's many points of entry into the binational park from Tijuana. Getting there from the United States, we have to be a little bit more delicate. We would bring people there by trolley or some rail system that's very delicate on the estuary that would be critically important for us to maintain and not damage. We envision a 24-hour pedestrian crossing. We envision potentially a 24-hour-a-day international, a binational park on this site. Oh, before I move on to the existing condition, this is an interesting quote. This is a quote right out of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, written in 1848. Upon a solid basis, relations of peace and friendship, which shall confer reciprocal benefits upon the citizens of both, and assure the concord, harmony, and mutual confidence, wherein the two people should live as good neighbors. Well, I think everyone can see clearly we're not fulfilling the basic treaty. I don't know if the language is enough to carry the day, but certainly the writers of this treaty thought that an International Friendship Park might be the right solution at this exact moment in our history. Here's the site, the existing conditions. So you can see here, this would be the borderline here. There's a bunch of private homes here in Tijuana, pushed up right up against the fence. It's amazing. I've been in a couple backyards here, and really the backyards go right to the fence. It's astounding. Beautiful canyon here that once, of course, just crossed naturally into the estuary, and it will again. So another thing that we're doing is letting the land go back to its natural flow and harmony, and letting that canyon then flow through to the estuary as it used to do. The bull ring, as I mentioned, a beautiful historic structure. What would we do with the bull ring? Well, we'll see. That's going to be the subject of one of our competitions. We'll be releasing these over the next 12 months. The first piece of the competition, though, is going to involve an extension of the border, and it may not be linear. We don't want to tamp down the creative juices of the different designers out there, but some expression of a pier that goes out into the ocean. And who knows here, with this really, I don't know how many of you tuning in, I assume quite a few of you have been to Tijuana at Playa, but there's a gorgeous boardwalk right here below all of these restaurants and apartments. What if those darn things sort of scooted across the border and sort of hugged this little bluff here? God, wouldn't that be something? Now, this is our current condition, and we don't want to dwell on this because our eyes are pinned to the future, not the past. Only to point out with this photo that as god-awful as this condition is, and believe me, it's terrible. It's a little scary and confining to go into this space now, but it's a very important space in our history, and also in the San Diego-Tijuana region. It's a historic place where family members can go and talk to each other. So it's the ugliest park in the world, perhaps, at least in the top 5, but it's one of the most important spaces that the United States has to offer, and we should honor it in a different way. Again, the existing condition here. So we'll be using this three-dimensional model and building on it as we work through the 12 months, as we're designing bits and pieces. We'll model it in different ways. So you'll see there's going to be a lot of information on buildthatpark.org that you can tune in, and make sure you go to that site and sign our petition, get on our mailing list, tell your friends, and we'll keep everybody updated as the design moves forward. So here's just some of the basic thought processes, not to influence people that get involved in the process, but just tell them some possibilities. They may reject these and propose their own. That's entirely beautiful and appropriate. We're not trying to control the process. We want a lot of ideas and a lot of different ideas. The entryway into the binational park, I think necessarily will be farther to the east of the composition. Right now, this is at the southern end of this gorgeous and huge estuary. It stretches for miles to the north. This would be very in keeping to have perhaps a museum to start to understand the estuary, pavilions of museum, perhaps small pavilions of museums are a better example of what to do here. The continuation possibly of this boardwalk along the coast with new restaurants, new businesses, new uses. We're not going to be afraid to build some structures on this land. It's a binational park, but it doesn't mean it has to be all green. There's plenty of green here. Could you imagine if the bull ring, what if it had a cut in it? What if you cut a V in it, open to the ocean? And what if there were beautiful music performances, symposia, discussions about race, discussions about nationality, facing the problems of today in a more open manner than we tend to do now? There's examples that we can use too. For instance, Homeland Security already knows how to run binational parks. In fact, there's several on the U.S.-Canadian border. We'll study those. We'll take lessons from those. We'll be told lessons from other practitioners around the world about their experiences with binational parks. And we'll, with very open mind, learn from those experiences. So the design process, in a very rough sense, we'll be listening to the voices around us. We will be engaging the public and collecting stories. Already, we're starting to do that through our website. So please go on that site and please share it with all your friends. It helps us. We will be honoring the history. We're not going to forget that this is not just a Mexican United States piece of land. The Kumeyaay Nation was on this land before anyone else was claiming ownership of it. And I don't believe they claimed ownership of it. They were just on the land. So we will be hoping to reach out to Kumeyaay Nation and hearing what they would like to see on this land as well. That's equally important to us, and we're not going to let that opportunity go to waste and be forgotten. We'll be engaging designers at all levels, both students. In fact, I have approximately 80 students this semester. Our entire course of study for the next 2 semesters is International Friendship Park. Now, these are students at all levels, and they have varying degrees of experience, and their designs may be different than what a professional architect or artist or designer might come up with, but certainly their voices will be heard too, as well as professional architects. And then we'll be bringing forward all those ideas within that 12 months. We hope in 12 months, of course, we're going to have a backlog of many different ideas. We're going to keep all of those on the website, but we'll be attempting to take the best of those ideas and translate them into one visionary plan for this park. This is a little exercise here that we did. I shouldn't say exercise. We fought tooth and nail in 2011 to convince Homeland Security to at least make a small hole in the northernmost fence. Now, they wouldn't make a permanent hole, but they at least allowed a long rolling gate to open up the space on the northern side we have many events over the year in this space, and at least with this side open, it makes it seem less oppressive. So that helped a little bit. So we're going to really bust the wall open, however, in the next 12 months with our new initiative. So thank you very much. I think I want to leave plenty of time for questions and answers, and I think I said enough. And please build that park. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jim. We do want to welcome your questions and answers. There is a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. And there's also a Q&A form that's been opened. If you check the chat box, you'll find a link to that. We may not get to those questions here in today's presentation, but we welcome your sharing those with us, and we'll hope to have the opportunity to engage with you moving forward. We're now just going to hear a brief presentation from Dan Watman about his hopes and dreams for the future of the Binational Garden, another element of what we envision as International Friendship Park. Who knows, this might be another one of the design competitions that Jim mentioned. But Dan and his team have been tending and caring for this garden for many years. And so he has a degree of knowledge of the land and expertise in the dynamics of working binationally that we thought would be important for you to hear. And so Dan will share his hopes and dreams for the future of the Binational Garden, just to give you a glimpse and a taste of the kinds of things that, the kinds of conversations we're hoping to inspire over the course of this 12-month Build That Park campaign. Dan?
Thank you so much, John, and thank you, James. I'm extremely excited about this possibility of having a binational park, and once we build that park, just the possibilities are endless. I'm constantly dreaming about what we can do. Here is my presentation. About the Binational Friendship Garden of Native Plants. It was born out of friendship and environmental collaboration, just like when Pat Nixon planted a tree back during the inauguration of Friendship Park in 1971. Back when we planted the garden in March of 2007, it was part of a project that I had called Border Encuentro, where people would come together and through different events, we do salsa dancing lessons, poetry readings, yoga classes, and during an environmental festival in March of 2007, the community came together and we built a small rectangular garden plot that was expanded into binational circles in 2011, 2012. And I will get to a little more about that in a second. As many may know, it came out in the news and what have you. In January of this year, half of the garden was demolished, razed to the ground. The silver lining to that, when that happened, it was devastating to the community. But like I said, the silver lining was that I knew that there was the garden had created roots in the community, but I didn't know how much. And the community really reacted. It was overwhelming support to get that garden going again. And so the other day, I got this picture of a white sage. And as far as anyone could tell, the garden was gone when they demolished it. But this guy popped up, this white sage, whose species has been around for over 8,000 years, used in spiritual ceremonies by the Kumeyaay, popped up from its roots. So to me, that was a sign of hope, that all the roots that have been established through our binational community can serve to create something much greater than we've ever even had, even before the demolition, once we build that park. And there is a precedent for this idea at the border of Canada, the International Peace Gardens. And so once we build that park, it can be kind of a canvas for anything, for everything we can do everything the community wants to do, all the dreams the community has had can come to reality. Right now, the circles, there are 3 binational circles we have that are all themed: the mirror garden, the Toyan and yellow flower garden, and the cactus/wish garden. Here's the mirror garden. We plant the same species on one side as the other and create a mirror. Yellow flower garden. These are all examples of native plants that produce yellow flowers on both sides of the border. And then we have the cactus/wish garden. We call it the wish garden because people write wishes on rocks. And throughout the years, the community has gotten together. We've done brainstorming sessions with landscape architects, native plant enthusiasts, community volunteers. James has been involved in many of these brainstorming efforts. And this was something that we came up with a number of years ago as a dream. And to sum it up, it's basically circles. Expand circles and put in more circles. So we really want to show this idea of what a circle is, where anywhere you are in the circle, you're connected. And so there's no lines and we're all connected, and kind of send that message that the environment has no borders. And this is kind of blowing up a section of those circles. Another drawing we did a number of years ago as a dream. We expanded the 3 circles that were already there: the mirror garden, the yellow flower garden, and the wish garden, and added a couple more circles. All the circles are double the size what they are now. And one of the new circles would be a butterfly garden. And the Kino checker spot is an extremely endangered species that 50 years ago, you could see it from San Francisco to southern Baja. The last 20 years, it's only been spotted right at the border. And about a month ago, there was a spotting on Schooners Mesa, which is only a mile away from where the binational park is going to go. So we would plant Plantigo erecta, which is the food that the Kino checker spot eats, and milkweed, a native milkweed, and other native plants that attract butterflies and have a beautiful binational butterfly garden. We could have pathways that go through the middle of the circles, educational pathways to kind of emphasize the importance and raise awareness about the importance for native flora for our region. It's not just for a pretty garden. We need to restore the native flora of our region. Native plants have roots up to 30 feet deep. They don't need water. So having a native plant garden benefits us all. And there could be educational workshops led by native kumeyaay, explaining the traditional uses of the native flora. Possibilities are endless. I could go on and on. There's a white sage river was another idea we came up with to represent the region here. The ecological heart of our region is the river that goes back and forth across the border. So we came up with this white sage river idea that zigzags through the circles and across the border, leaving a beautiful green river through the middle of the garden and a beautiful scent. And in the mirror garden, we could put in actual mirrors, just a wild and crazy idea. And as it is now, we do have food beds on the Mexican side, but they're not binational. So when we build that park, we could have the first that I know in the whole world of a truly cross-border community garden. And people could come together from both sides of the border and work together and create community, make friends, and grow together. Gracias.
Thanks, Dan. And thanks everybody for your questions, which are coming fast and furious, which is wonderful and right on point. Several of them have to do with the same theme, which is the conversations and collaborations we envision with partners, both in Mexico and with Kumeyaay Nation. And I'll let Jim say more about that, but just to emphasize, we've just announced this and launched this campaign and are absolutely open to collaboration from any and every quarter. I'm very pleased to say that Jim, in fact, has an appointment this week with the Mexican consulate here in San Diego. And we very much anticipate that that will be the beginning of a conversation with our partners in Mexico. And we're very much looking for conversation and design collaborators from the Mexican side. The same is true with our friends from the Kumeyaay Nation. Dan is connected to peoples through the work of the Binational Garden, and I know we all are anticipating further conversation. So as one of you has already done in the question and answer box, if you have specific ideas to share or specific connections to make, specific conversation partners that you feel would be important for us to engage, please by all means let us know. This is the beginning of an open conversation, and we look forward to engaging productively with any and all who want to dream with us about the future of a truly binational park. Jim, do you want to say anything else about collaboration with Mexico and the Kumeyaay peoples?
As John pointed out, we are at the beginning of this, but we can't have any meaningful dialogue without having our partners involved in it too. This cannot come from one place. And we're very aware of that, to have a successful visionary plan. And this is a visionary plan, because I also see another question bubbling up about the safety in the park. We are not going to iron out all the nuts and bolts of this plan and present it to some entity and say, okay, now build it. But this is a plan that will, if enough people are energized by it, and to get that kind of energy, you need people involved that are also as passionate about it as we are. That means they'll be designing things hand in hand with us on their own. Anything that's sent to us, we are going to include it, study it hard, have a debate about it if everyone doesn't agree. But it's going to be a little bit of a wild, perhaps, process, but it will be an invigorating process, and as many voices as possible. And we're just at the beginning of that, but that's going to be ongoing for 12 months. We're not just going to talk to people for 2 weeks and say, okay, we got to figure it out. Like, stand back, let us design it. It's going to be a process of a 12-month process of listening and doing, not just talking about things, but like putting forward specific designs that fulfill the needs of the user groups of all kinds. So we're really excited about meeting the Mexican consulate early next week. There's a lot of designers in Tijuana. There's stunning designers in Tijuana and beyond that are going to be involved in this project. We're very much looking forward to that.
Jim, do you want to say a word about the openness of the design competitions? Another question was asked about whether these competitions will be.
Yes. The first competition is going to deal with the pier. So we're, rather than like ask people to design this 160-acre park, that's a little bit much. We're going to break it down into pieces, and then we're going to proceed in that way. It will be posted. There's various competition websites online, architectural designs, all kinds of designs. We'll be posting that and getting as many voices as we can for this series of competitions. We'll attempt to run it off our website as well, but they'll be linked to many university-led websites and just architectural competition websites in general, because a lot of people are interested in competitions. You may not know, architects very well, but they like a challenge. They like theoretical challenges, and a theoretical challenge that also has the ability or the chance to be real. Can you imagine? Well, we fully intend for this binational park to be a reality in our lifetime. It's going to happen because the idea is too good. And it's not just an idea that's relegated to Democrats. It's not that. This is an idea that is good for everybody. We firmly feel that way.
One bit of history that I did not mention at the start of the program was that the park on the United States side was inaugurated in August of 1971 by the First Lady of the United States, Pat Nixon. She, the wife of Republican President Richard Nixon, came and inaugurated California's Borderfield State Park at this location. At that time, there were just 3 strands of barbed wire on site, and after she planted a tree, she asked her security detail to cut that barbed wire, and she entered Mexico on that occasion and greeted the crowd that had assembled for the day. And also on that occasion, she said, "I hope there won't be a fence too long here." So that vision, as Jim mentions, is not a partisan vision. It's a vision that's really rooted in the original Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo and in the collaboration and cooperation, which is a part of the border fabric, as we all know, who live along in this region. Collaboration, friendship, participation, communication, cross-cultural creativity, these are hallmarks of the border region. And the vision of a truly binational park is really a fulfillment of those promises and of that reality that so many of us who live in the border region know even today. Another question that I just want to address briefly was the question of binational parks on the U.S.-Canada border. We are looking forward to a site visit to the Peace Arch Park, which is between Vancouver, Washington, and Vancouver, British Columbia. The circumstance there is different in that Highway 5 runs across the U.S.-Canada border. At that location, you can drive off of the highway on either side, park, and enter a shared space, and then return to your cars before entering back onto the highway. But Jim mentioned earlier that the Department of Homeland Security manages several such binational spaces along the U.S.-Canada border. So learning from those instances and adapting the technology, the methods of surveillance and other necessary security measures will be part of the design process as well. And we look forward to conversation with our friends on the U.S.-Canada border to learn how they've managed those kinds of challenges. I'm looking to see if there are other questions. And I see several more about organizations, mentions of architectural organizations, an invitation or a question about students. Jim mentioned his college and university students presently engaged just now in the process, but we very much would love to have a way for local high school students and other students to get involved. So we are, as you can tell, at an idea generating stage of this project, and we welcome you to share your ideas with us. I do want to briefly draw your attention before we close to the website, buildthatpark.org. And as you can see, we invite you to share your story. We're looking for both stories and visions. Stories perhaps from those of you who have been to Friendship Park or have been to another binational park and want to share your experience with us, or visions for the future that you'd like to share. There's an opportunity for you to do that there. The subscribe button will of course add you to our mailing list so that you can stay a part of this conversation and be apprised of the latest breaking developments. We've also just begun to populate this news tab. Our initial launch included coverage from the LA Times, the San Diego Union Tribune, KPBS, and so forth. And so we'll have news articles breaking on this. You'll be able to find them here. But this Voices tab is where we'll begin to share stories and visions from people who want to share with us their ideas for the future of the park. And then also, just to encourage you, please, to help us spread the word also by signing our petition. The change.org petition was launched just a couple of weeks ago, and we're right at 1,300 signatures now. But this is a way for people to spread the word and share even further afield with their networks and friends. And so if you would sign this petition and share with your networks, we'd greatly appreciate it. The Build That Park mantra is the heart of the petition. We know there's some very loud voices that like to yell, build that wall. And we feel that Build That Park is a much better articulation of a hope for the future of the U.S. Mexico border. Dan and Jim, I want to give you any last opportunity before we close to answer any questions or share any final thoughts.
The only thing I could say is thanks again for all the people that took the time to participate, and please stay engaged with us. And it doesn't have to just be like clicking a link and signing a petition, although that's appreciated. If you want to reach out personally and like pitch in, or if you have ideas, like stay with us. We really want you to be with us, and it's going to be a long journey, but it's going to end up going by pretty fast. You know, a year is not that long, and we have a lot of work to do. It's going to be exciting. We'll always be continually sharing our small steps and big steps with the greater community. Yeah, thank you.
Dan, any final words from you? Whoops, your microphone, Dan. Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, just that. Thank you. Thank you for the time. Thank you for coming and listening to us and for your support. Like I said, I'm very excited about this potential, and we need you. We need it. We need you, and we need you to contact others that we need as well. So please support us. And I've answered a few questions about the Kumeyaay community. I've written some answers about that, and we do want to expand that community involvement. There has been some involvement with the community, with the Kumeyaay community, and we want to expand that and have that be a part of, more of a part moving forward. Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much for joining us. I do want to close with this comment. A couple of the questions alluded to the present park and access issues and family reunions that take place there. The most common word that I hear from families and other visitors at Friendship Park in its current configuration is the word agridulce, bittersweet. The park as it's presently constructed, of course, involves all kinds of sorrow and bitterness that comes with being separated from friends and family. But it also does still capture that element of sweetness, presently just by people being able to touch their fingertips through a thick metal gresh, thick metal mesh, that, you know, a grate that's on that primary border wall. But those tastes of sweetness that we see when people touch fingertips are a taste of the future in our view. And a truly binational park, one in which people would be able to share a meal together, play music together, you know, share a gift, have a party, meet a new friend. These are the hopes and dreams that are driving so many of us who have worked for Friendship Park for so many years. And those are the dreams that are born from the people who presently visit the park. The families, the friends, their resistance, their determination to sustain relationships, even across these great divisions that are imposed on the border by our federal government. Those are the dreams that are driving us. And we hope that you'll catch a glimpse, a taste of that future as we have. And we thank you so much for joining us in this Build That Park campaign. So thanks again. We'll see you next time. And don't hesitate to be in touch. Bye-bye.